And spiritual abuse has really much the same effect on you as sexual abuse. You feel a lot of shame. You're ashamed because, first of all, you're afraid. You don't want to tell anybody because you're afraid that they won't believe you. And secondly, you don't want them to ask you, well, why did you stay there so long? Why did you stay in that so long? And finally, you're ashamed because you got something out of being in the system. But as I admitted my addiction to that abusive system, the Lord began to uncover many areas where I needed healing and restoration. And I wish I had the time and the words to tell you what the Celebrate Recovery Step Study program has done in my life, along with the prayer ministry for inner healing that we have here. These two ministries went hand in hand in bringing transformation into my life. And as I did step 4, which is taking an honest moral inventory of your life and then sharing it with one other person, I was able to expose all of the hurts in my life, write it down on paper. Wounds from early sexual abuse, wounds from an emotionally distant father, wounds from church leaders who abused their authority, and wounds from other fellow Christians who turned against me at a critical time in my life. But the wonderful thing about getting it all out into the open was that I was able to forgive all of those who had wounded me and to find peace, because I saw my responsibility in getting involved in and staying so long in that system. I found my sin, and I found my deliverance. Ever since Chad's message of the chains falling off of you, I found over the summer that all these chains were falling off of me, and that none of the things that I had written in my inventory were true anymore. And the Lord just was doing a wonderful work. And I realized the enormity of what the Lord had done when in July my grandson got married. And we were brought back together with my daughter's former husband and his father, who was the first pastor in that system. And to my amazement, I found that my heart had been transformed towards them. And all the hurt and the resentment and the unforgiveness was gone. And it was as though nothing had ever happened. We had sweet fellowship together the entire wedding weekend. There are so many more hang-ups that have dissolved since I addressed my hurts through the step study along with the prayer ministry for inner healing. And there are many habits that are being discarded as well. My shopping addiction, for instance, and that's another story. But just let me say that I can now shop like a normal person. I don't have to go out and purchase things out of a need or a compulsion to satisfy an empty place in my soul. Again, I was able to get to the origin of the destructive grid that I had been looking at life through all of my life, and that was blame and shame. I had a fear of punishment that caused me to blame others or myself whenever anything went wrong. And through the prayer ministry, I got to the bottom of that. And going through the step study with Celebrate Recovery and at the same time receiving healing through the prayer ministry for inner healing, this is a powerful, powerful combination. You get everything out into the open through the step study, and then the prayer ministry, you go and get to the origin of the hurt and of the wound, and the Lord sets you free. And for me, I think that one or the other of these ministries is incomplete. They went together for me and brought healing and transformation. I want to encourage you to consider getting involved in Celebrate Recovery, especially the small groups, the step study groups. I recently told Chad and Paul that this is such a great program. It's an ongoing, intentional crash course in transformation. We're a church who wants to be real and transformed and connected and poured out. And you get all 4 of these in Celebrate Recovery and the prayer ministry. And maybe you're like me, you don't think, I don't need Celebrate Recovery. I'm not addicted to alcohol or to drugs. I don't need recovery. But you all have hurts, habits, and hang-ups, and you all need to be restored to the image of Christ. One of my favorite verses is Romans 8:28 and 29. For we know that all things work together for good, to them that love God, to them that are called according to his purpose. And then he tells us what his purpose is, to be conformed to the image of his Son. This is God's purpose for all of us, to be restored to the image of Christ, to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. And here at Living Hope, we have the tools for our transformation, for our restoration, for our recovery, however you want to put it. I'm so thankful for what the Lord has done, because I know the Lord isn't finished with me yet. I have much more in my life that needs ongoing transformation. And finally, I want to share a verse that describes what the Lord has done in my life through Celebrate Recovery and the prayer ministry. Isaiah 51:3. The Lord will surely comfort Zion and will look with compassion on all her ruins. He will make her deserts like Eden and her wastelands like the garden of the Lord. Joy and gladness will be found in her, thanksgiving and the sound of singing. If you have a lot of ruins in your life, the Lord wants to rebuild you on your ruins. This is where I am today. He has had compassion on all my ruins, and he's rebuilding my life. I've come to a place in my life where I can say with joy, I am who I am, and I feel comfortable in my skin. And I'm just full of joy and gladness and thanksgiving, and I am singing a new song. Thank you.